So we put this into the schedule, and the idea is if you have something that you do in Catholic philanthropy that you think would be helpful to this community of people, we want you to share it. David on this side and Ethan on this side have microphones. So if you would like to share one of the things that you do in your ministry that you think could be helpful to the rest of us, I would like to ask you to call them over and just make sure you're talking to that microphone so that Avery can record this for the follow-up afterwards. Who wants to go first? Make sure you introduce yourself again and what ministry you're from.
Yeah, Alan Caballero with CLI. Something that we just started doing at CLI with the help of our communications team is to insert a QR code in our business card, something new. And that QR code will take the donor or the person that we're meeting to our webpage that has a short video explaining our mission. We're talking about storytelling. So depending on the type of donor or the visit, we'll actually update that QR code. So that has been effective because usually we will check with that person after 2 or 3 days. Hey, do you have the chance to scan the QR code? And it's in the back of your business card. Something very, very easy to share the story and the mission of your organization.
Excellent, thank you. Remember that the microphone that they are having is just for the video, so you've got to project for everybody to be able to hear you. Who's next?
Hi, Chris Kennedy, Vatican Observatory Foundation. Here, I'll stand back here so you can hear me. One thing that that I learned at my last job that I've started to do more and more, and it's especially helpful if you have a larger team of associates who might be on the phone with donors, taking your credit card information. Focus on one thing that I try to do all the time is to try to focus on making every single interaction with a donor a good one. If you're taking down a new credit card for a monthly payment, just say thank you, or make sure your staff are trained a little bit on just saying thank you, or looking in the database and saying, oh wow, I see it's been 20 years since your last gift. Thank you, or it's 20 years since your first gift. Thank you so much. Or oh wow, you've been giving, this is your 12th month of contributing monthly. Every single donor interaction, no matter how brief, is a chance to be impactful and be remembered.
Fantastic, thank you, Chris. There's a description that people use in that customer service and the development operation: confirm, edit, and enhance. Confirm the information in your database, edit as needed, enhance the relationship, right? Make it better. Right here.
I don't know about any of you, but we are definitely looking regularly for additional staff to join our team. As you can imagine, having Anthony as part of our team, we have a vibrant environment and lots of people want to come just because of him, right? But that being said, in all honesty, we have been really intentional about the outreach that we've been doing. And so you've got some real gems, I'm going to assume, in your diocese or in your region. And so one of the things that we've been doing is we've been looking to our deacons who have areas of expertise based off their professional business mind and a strong alignment with mission. And so we have been committed to forming our deacons, number one, but two, we've also hired 2 deacons to be our philanthropy officers. So just another pool of people to lean into if you're looking for staff.
Ann Bischoff with the Dominican Sisters of Mary, Mother of the Eucharist. For our organization, planned giving has just been increasing in importance as our donor base ages. And so one of the things that we really try to do is look at the donors who have gone ahead and put us in their final plans. We recognize that that's really putting us in their family. And so in terms of stewarding them, we kind of have a trigger in our system. When someone does something like that, we note it. We have a letter that goes from the Prioress General, hand-signed by her, thanking the donor for including us in their family. And then any donor in our Legacy Guild, so we do have a giving guild that is related to our Legacy Gift. We offer a Mass on the Feast of St. Albert the Great, and they are stewarded by a sister. So periodically throughout the year, they're hearing from a sister, they're being prayed for by a sister. according to the prayer intentions. So just being really intentional with stewardship for those people who really have made a huge commitment to the cause.
It's wonderful, Ann. Thank you. I'd like to offer one myself. Conde de Leon, who is in the hospital, Conde created an idea at the very beginning of COVID that many diocesan development directors across the country have now copied. But Conde started sending out an email from him to the diocesan database. And this was not, hey, would you give us money for the annual appeal emails? This was, hey, let me tell you something meaningful that's happened in my life as the Catholic development director for the diocese this past month. Meaningful personal stories, interactions. The person who's the development director, Margaret Kitely, is the development director for the Diocese of Richmond, Virginia. She sends about one a week, and she talks about her dog in every email. I did about one a month in Oklahoma City. Jamie, you do these as well in Colorado Springs. But I'm just telling you that there is a rapport that can be built over time. And you got to work with an organization that will let you do that. But I'm sure the Focus Missionaries, you certainly, for your own mission support team, you do print newsletters, or have in the past, or notes or letters, but certainly a regular email talking about the ministry that you do that is a personal nature, is not an ask, but is part of that cultivation dynamic. So when I go around the Archdiocese of Oklahoma City, people ask me about my daughter, who attended a youth retreat in middle school, and I told people about how amazed I was that my little, my daughter is a bookworm, and she'd much rather be in a book than talking to any human being, but she loved this retreat. Well, I loved that she went on this retreat is probably the better expression there. But I told people about it in my regular emails, and because their gifts to the Catholic Archdiocese of Oklahoma City made that retreat possible, right? Great connection. And I told about the kids going to youth camp or whatever it is, but the moral of the story is trying to find some meaningful, regular, systematic communication methodology between you and the donor constituency can be very, very helpful. It does not all need to come from the CEO or the bishop or whoever. Having multiple, the way we would say it in Oklahoma is we need multiple horses pulling the wagon, right? Who else has got a nugget? Father?
A couple of things that we've started doing. On the discipleship side, we're really trying to help our parishioners learn to share their story. And so one of the things we did a couple of years ago, we started during Advent. This year we did it during the Christmas season. We're going to do it during Lent again. But we just pick a question so they can share a little tidbit of their story, and we videotape it. And so this year, or a year ago, Advent, it was, how have you encountered Jesus in your life? And we asked parishioners to, if they would allow themselves to be videotaped, 3-4 minute witness. And every day of Advent, we sent out one of those videos. This year, during the Christmas season, every day of the Christmas season started on Christmas morning. There's a video on how your weekly holy hour has affected your life. However, in that database, I have donors from outside of our parishes. So I make sure they're included in the video, because then they always reach out and say, yeah, I'm getting these videos. I'm like, oh, awesome, good. They don't know that I intentionally put their address so they get that video, but it's now they're hearing parishioner stories, and it's building them up in their desire to want to support my parishes that's not their parish. We also, your biggest gifts are always planned gifts, and the greatest gift is always the last gift from someone. Like Nick yesterday, the more we can automate things just to get information in front of people. So in our family of parishes, we do utilize Crescendo Pro. And so parishioners are getting a monthly newsletter. We have a whole area of development on our website for planned giving. It was all created by Crescendo, but they absolutely mimic our website. The colors, the everything. but it's all run by Crescendo. I don't have to worry about any updates, nor do I need a staff member to update it. And then we just put in our own parishioner stories. So there's a lot of ways you can leverage things like a Crescendo or Flock Note videos to help your fundraising. And it's not a lot of extra work or need for more staff.
Hi, my name is John King. I'm the Director of Mission Advancement at St. Vincent de Paul in Dayton. So we are a regional kind of medium-sized shop. But for those of you that don't know, Vincentian spirituality is really based around the act of the home visit. It is a neighbor going and visiting another neighbor in need, going, taking them food, helping them pay for their water bill, their rent, something like that, but then also sitting with them and praying with them. That's really important in the Vincentian model. And so we rehabbed that and use it for our fundraising. My team of relationship managers take 10 to 12 donors a day, and they just hit the road and they go show up on front porches. We get all the reactions that you guys are probably thinking of right now, from please don't come back, just send me your mail, I don't want to hear from you, to hey, come inside, and you're then sitting with a donor and you're visiting with them for an hour and a half and you're hearing those conversations. And my team at the moment doesn't have to do any of the 15 calls that it takes other people to get that exact kind of visit. And we're able to build relationships through being physically present with them. I'd love to talk more if you have any questions about that. We see about 40% of donors have an interaction when we show up. For those 70% that don't, we leave a little leave behind. We tell a great story that you've all heard about. We leave it on their porch, and then we go back the next month. And somehow, 40% again, we catch them that time. So for those kind of local shops that can do that like regional thing, it's been transformative for us. It's got us off of doing galas and events, and now we just do this. And so it's been transformative for us.
I'm wondering if one of the focus guys, Paul or somebody, would you talk about your conference within a conference at Seek?
I'm Mark Bartek, Senior Director of Mission Partner Development. At our conference, we bring together thousands, tens of thousands of people. And one of the things that we do is we recognize that there are lots and lots of supporters of Focus Missionaries and our major benefactors who come to this conference. So within that conference, then we have a premier experience that our major benefactors are able to participate in. We draw them in, but if others want to participate by kind of buying a ticket to that experience. And then within the conference, we host meals, and we have other speakers that also offer kind of exclusive content, a little bit more specific opportunity to connect with those speakers. Arthur Brooks, Father Mike Schmitz, and others who they're able then to have a little bit of, maybe they come to the happy hour and spend some time with them personally or hear them share as well. So it's just this opportunity to kind of provide a little bit more of a white glove experience for our donors in the midst of something else that we're already doing as well.
Thank you, Mark. The reason I wanted him to tell you about that is because how many of us have existing activities or conferences or workshops or things that we do in our context that maybe we could figure out a way to invite 20 benefactors to come and participate on the sidelines? If you're in campus ministry at Ohio State, maybe there's a retreat going on, or maybe there's a graduation mass or something, or maybe one of your students is being ordained, and you bring along some donors to the ordination mass. You know, there's lots of different opportunities that we could do something within the context. Somebody else has already done the work. I just want us to think about that as a cultivation opportunity, right? I love to plug in donors to things that somebody else has planned and done all the work for, right?
I'll just pile onto that. We see a lot of our campus chaplains that actually bring a lot of their benefactors to the conference as well. They'll rent a suite or a room someplace close by, or they'll rent a restaurant for a meal, and then they'll bring their benefactors along, because we know that a conference like that can be really powerful for the faith experience of everybody who attends. And then there's an opportunity to connect the dots between the mission that they're part of and drawing them in and inviting them to participate more significantly within that, kind of showing the body of Christ as it comes together in that as well.
I challenge you to find me an event that's more emotive to a 55-year-old Catholic benefactor than going to Mass with 10,000 kids in a stadium that are 18 to 22 years old. Any other nuggets people would like to share? Susan Damiani, I know you want to tell us about what you're doing with pickleball.
I know we were talking about identity and belonging, and we were talking about community. So, unbeknownst to me, I created this community, not realizing I'm a director of gift planning and I'm in charge of our Legacy Society. And when we came out of COVID, out of the lockdown and all of that, I saw that people were still, especially people that were maybe in their 70s and so forth, a little skittish about coming back and, interacting, inside, at an event with maybe, 50 or 60 people, however it was. So I said, let me think creatively on how we can draw people back and feel comfortable interacting with each other. And believe it or not, I swear to God, this was way before like pickleball really exploded, especially in New York. And no one was really talking about it. And I said, you know what? This is an activity that they can socialize with each other, but it's an activity and they don't have to feel intimidated if they just come by themselves because they're playing the game and so forth. So I created this pickleball group. We call it the PBJs, the Pickleball Johnnies. And and what happened was it exploded. And I created, they all said this is community. So now I have this like subgroup within my Legacy Society. We have I don't know, Ethan, maybe we're at hitting about 200 people already, and it's a couple of years old. And we kind of, we put a development spin on it where we have an 8-week session. It's in the fall cohort, and we have a spring cohort. My students are the coaches, and some of the alums that played tennis for St. John's, they stepped up and they wanted to coach and help out. Some of them now want to volunteer and they want to run the program, which I love because I think that's another thing I wanted to share with everyone. I know we're always, as development people, we're always doing something, but I think it's really important that you get them involved and let them own it. Because when you own it, then you're more involved and you stay connected even longer, right, to the organization. So it's really taken off. And now, since it's been a couple of years, I said, okay, it's time to sit down and ask them to be legacy members. And I can't get over how easy it is. I take them out to lunch or dinner, I sit down, and I'm like, I really want you to be part of the McAllen Society. And they're like, of course. Look what you did for us. You reconnected us to alma mater. We weren't connected at all for 40 years. And we couldn't believe we're getting so much out of this, more than we ever thought. And we couldn't believe how great it is to be reconnected to this organization. So we'll do whatever you need us to do, Susan. If you need us to, include St. John's in our state plans, we want to do that. We'll set up a scholarship fund because I have a legacy, all my family members went to St. John's. It's an automatic yes. So it's just the time to make all these appointments now and have the one-on-one, interactions with everyone for them to become, donors to the university. So I
Awesome.
highly recommend it.
Thank you, Susan. So let's just think about that. What she just described is the fundraising office have created the PBJs, right? The Pickleball Johnnies. If I went home to my boss, the Vicar General in Arlington, and said, hey, I want to start a pickleball club, he'd look at me like I was crazy. They all did, Peter. Right? They all did. But let's think about practically what we're talking about here. It is a cultivation methodology of building relationship and community between this subset of donors, in this case, planned giving donors, with the institution, in this case, St. John's University, right? So community, fellowship, relationship with the development director, one of the great things about this is the involvement of young people from the university and the potential Legacy Society benefactors. A couple of different speakers have mentioned, I think Jeremy Beers mentioned, James, help me out, Texas Tech. Russell, thank you, Russell James. one of Russell James's pieces of data, and I encourage you all to go on LinkedIn and find Russell James. But one of Russell James's piece of data that changed my view of how to talk about bequests and planned giving. When I was growing up in fundraising, all the donors tell you, oh, we've already set our estate plans in place, we're never going to change them. So you start thinking, oh, I got to talk to people when they're younger, in their 50s or maybe 60s, but not in their 70s and 80s because they've already set their plans. Well, Russell James's research says, that's what their intention is. But the reality is that the vast majority of people who leave a bequest to a nonprofit make a change in their will within 5 years of dying. That's a really important factor. So why do we have the PBJs? Because when somebody puts you in their will, they can change their will. And you have got to maintain a positive community relationship with the people who have said that I'm going to leave you part of my estate, because they will and do change their will. And so that constant communication feedback loop of cultivation and relationship is so absolutely critical. For the sisters, if somebody says, I'm going to leave you in my will, it's critical that the sisters continue to maintain relationship, whether it's through notes and cards or newsletters and e-newsmail or email or whatever it is. Might not be a pickleball club in the rural western panhandle of Amarillo, but there's lots of different ways, right?
Yeah, Mike Leahy, Focus. So we did something this past summer, just a calling day to our legacy members, and I had maybe 10 or 12 people on my list. I connected with about a quarter of those. But this one lady in particular, she's 85 years old, homebound, lots of health issues, things like that, but she's part of our legacy society, and she's like, put focus in her will. And so I just called to thank her and start having a conversation. And obviously, I'm not trying to cultivate or ask for anything more. I'm just stewarding the relationship. And she gave me her prayer requests. I prayed with her on the phone, and she said, "I love Curtis Martin. I watched him on EWTN with the football show, and just please tell Curtis I'm so proud of what he's doing, and thank you. And I'm happy to support Focus." So, pray with her, finish the call, thank her. And then I email Curtis, and I've been with Focus for a year at this point. I've never officially met Curtis, but I email him. Just say, hey, this is one of our legacy members. She asked these prayer requests, and she said to thank you in this way. And the next morning, I get an email from Curtis, said, "That is so awesome. Thanks for sharing. I'm going to offer my rosary for her today." And so I was able to call her back. Hey, good news. I told Curtis, and he said he'd pray a rosary for you. I can't tell you, she was so overjoyed at that. So just those little touches to go the extra mile, it's totally worth it.
Jamie Crane, Diocese of Colorado Springs. So I know I need to work on my projecting. Okay. So going back to the plan giving kind of ideas that we've been talking about. So one thing that we do for our Legacy Society, or as we've been meeting and doing seminars for planning, Deacon Mark is our new addition, and I'm talking on his behalf because this was his idea. But one of the extents that we're doing is also sharing with them the importance of funeral planning along with planning their will. Because there's been too many people, and this is the story we share, of, the beautiful old lady who sits in daily mass up front row, rosary, and her kids are not Catholic. She passes away. She doesn't have a will. She doesn't have a funeral plan. And so her kids don't have a mass for her. They don't have a rosary. They don't have all of it. So not only is planning your will such a gift and a witness to your family, but also doing a funeral plan ahead of time. So you have the music, and it can be a great witness to your family members that are not practicing anymore, because it's all planned out. It's such a gift to your family. And so we have a funeral planning guide for our priests. So we laicized it. And then we also encourage them to share it with their parish. So we can have it for backup, but to make sure they're sharing it with their parish. So it's all put together, suggested readings, suggested music, everything's all planned out. So we added that to our legacy events that we do. So it's been a real gift to people, and our pastors like it as well. What was my other one? Oh, and you were talking about events, extra ideas. So I sit on the ICSC, I'm sure you've heard it before. So I'm Region 13's rep for the International Catholic Stewardship Consultant or Conference. And so we're planning the conference right now, and I got a great idea. It's going to be probably part of a talk, so kind of a teaser for you if you want to come to the conference. But in Charleston, what they are doing for their donor events to kind of do an experience is they have some really great historical churches. So for their donor dinners, an alternative is they've done touring of different churches. So they hire a bus, they have 10 couples of their top donors, and they go around to these different parishes or historical sites in the diocese. They get a history lesson that's relatable to the diocese, and that's really all it is just, did you know that this is, and this is when it was, built, and people love it. And it's a way to connect to the diocese and learn part of their diocese, and they never knew about it. So I can't take credit. I just thought it was amazing. So just sharing that idea, because some of you might be from, historical areas or something kind of along those lines. So maybe not pickleball, but that might be a first step, is to just charter a bus and let's go visit or a site, kind of like a shrine or something along those lines. So sharing those
Great.
ideas.
Thank you, Jamie.
Father Brian Mulligan up at Mankato in Minnesota. One of the things I loved doing while I was a pastor of 3 parishes before I got to the Newman Center was at our fundraiser event, I would always auction off a dinner. And so one of the things that I do at our gala is I auction off a dinner and just get to go either host it at my rectory, or some of the donors are 2 hours away. So I asked them, if you buy it, can I come to your place and cook for them? And of course, they're like, yeah, sure, fine. But the other one that I wanted to share was a year ago. So I've only been here as a chaplain for 2 years as a pastor there. So I just had this idea that I want to have a lasting impression between the students and the benefactors, and to be able to really unite the benefactors with the students in a very unique and particular way. And so that was last year's idea. In 2 weeks, we're going to Rome with our benefactors and our students. And while we're over there, we're going to talk about the transcendentals and go through all the different places over in Rome, and then go to Assisi. So it's just this, what can we do to have a experience together and have that so impressionable that the students, because when I was in seminary, our rector drilled it into us, is this is the diocese house. It's our benefactor's house, but it's your home. So take care of your home because it's their house. And so he instilled stewardship. And so for the students to have an appreciation with the benefactors and what they're doing on their behalf for them, and then also having the benefactors have a real-time relationship with the students that are currently at the Newman Center. So those were just some ideas that are coming to be true in the next few weeks, but just trying to create those experiences.
Go on a pilgrimage to Rome and Assisi?
Anybody?
Right?
Anybody? Come join our.
That's great.
We are taking 34 people with us. Yep. So it'll be a good time.
Thank you, Father.
If you want to support us, talk to Joe.
Thank you. I'm Megan with Mission Driven Catholic. And we support Catholic schools throughout the nation, which is an amazing gift. It's amazing responsibility. It's also very difficult because they're all over the place. My husband was just in Anchorage, Alaska. We live in Ohio. But I just wanted to share what someone else said, but just the power of prayer. And that being something of great connection to relationship, being able to connect with someone and just, oh yeah, we'll have this meeting scheduled. And do you have any intentions for us to pray for? And sometimes I do, yeah, my sister has cancer. Would you please pray for her? My father-in-law died last month of suicide. I was not expecting that one. I'm like, absolutely. Can I offer you some support? Yes, we'll pray. My husband and I and our 9 kids, we do our best to pray a rosary at night. And so when I get to, I offer that, hey, we're going to pray for you in our family rosary tonight, which also is nice accountability for me to make sure that that happens. So I appreciate that. And then another thing that we do, and just I encourage you to just, obviously pray for your donors, but pray with them and offer to pray for them and pray with them. But we decided when we started our company that it was really important to pray and to kind of offer like a tithe of our time for prayer. And so we started this 5-minute prayer podcast. It's just a Psalm of the day, Gospel of the day, Saint of the day, short reflection, prayer to Our Lady. It's done in 5 minutes. And when my husband said it, I was like, that's a lot. Somebody donated the podcast equipment to us. It's a lot of time. He does a lot of good work to make sure it's very well researched, and he does a great job. But it is a lot of time. But it has been so good. It's been good for us as a mom. Just driving my kids to school keeps the car very peaceful, but also helps us start our day right. And we are encouraging like educators and their families at Catholic schools to pray with us. And sometimes I'm like, I don't know if this is having a big effect, but a couple of weeks ago, we got a call from one of the principals in Nebraska. And he was like, hey, this is great. I want to talk to you about Catholic school stuff, but I also just wanted to talk to the guy that I drive out of my driveway with every day and pray. And like, that was just so worth everything, like the year and a half that we've been doing this every week. So I just encourage you to pray with your donors. So.
Hi, Jeanette Burdell with the John Paul II Center for Theology of the Body here at the Diocese of Phoenix. But if you remember, we're moving out of the diocese, so that's why I'm here. But speaking of prayer, a thing we've just started doing, how many of you are familiar with Father John Ricardo? He's great, isn't he? And he came to visit us in our Department of Marriage and Family Life and gave a retreat for our leadership team. And he talked about the trailer. Is anybody familiar with the trailer? The chapel is the trailer. His analogy is a construction crew that continually goes back into the trailer to read the plans and then comes back out to do the work. And so the chapel is our trailer. We go into the chapel to hear from the Lord what He's telling us to do, and He guides us very well if we just ask and quiet ourselves, which takes a while in a workday sometimes. But when you quiet yourselves, sit in front of the Blessed Sacrament and ask, He'll tell you. And so we started having some of our donors do this with us. And they have just loved being invited into this process. So it's a little more than strategic planning, but it is that. We're including them in our strategic planning, but even more importantly in our prayer, asking of the Lord, what should our direction be? What should we be doing? What should we be including? Everything from programming to outreach and they've come up with some really good things. Not just donors, but also members. I know a lot of you like Focus are really good at connecting your students with your donors. And so this is an exercise where we're doing something similar. The beneficiaries of our programs sit in this same room with some of the donors. So I have loved that. We also offer masses for our donors. And it's just a surprise to them. We just send them a mass card and invite them, tell them what day it is, and if they can make it, and have lunch with us. And then the last little tidbit I'll give is we offer a bishop's dinner with our big event. We have a big fundraising event. It's coming up here April 3rd with Christopher West, if any of you are in town. We'd love to have you. And before that, we have an event within the event, and it's a bishop's dinner. So obviously the bishops are the draw. We have several here, an auxiliary and a retired bishop, and now we have a new Eastern Byzantine bishop too. So 4 bishops potentially could be at this dinner, and that's a great draw, even if you have one to your donors, I think. And so they sponsor, and one of the perks is attending this dinner. So it has worked really great for us. It's been as few as 20 people to up to almost 100 last year.
David DiNapoli, Pontifical University Holy Cross Foundation. When I was up in Maine, one of my earlier years, I decided to do a Christmas card contest. And we reached out to all the schools and said, submit your artwork to this contest. And then the winners we would bring in for a dinner with the bishop. Well, year one, it went over amazing. I mean, the phone calls that we got, who drew this card? How can we, this is amazing. It's such great artwork. And it was just a great way for us to couple the schools and the donors. At the end of year one, we got some pretty interesting feedback from the homeschool community. So they're like, we want to be a part of this too. And I'm like, all right. So the next year, all 5 of the winners were homeschoolers. But they all got to come in and do the, have dinner with the bishop. We just had an Italian place, cater it, and they just got to spend some time. But sending those cards out and having the kid's name on the back, we didn't have any extra identifying information, but people loved it. And they would send in, we put a little prayer request, if they had any prayer requests, we put a little envelope in there that they could send it back. And they loved it, and they love having us pray over those. So just wanted to share that practical piece.